In this video, we dive into the violent life of one of Britain's most dangerous men, Dale Cregan, a one-eyed terror whose brutal reign drenched the streets of Greater Manchester in blood. This isn't just a story, it's a full-on war zone where drug deals worth millions, bankrolled a vicious dynasty, and a deadly stash of weapons turned gang feuds into explosive carnage. Right across the Manchester underworld, Cregan unleashed a killing spree that didn't flinch at taking out rivals, or even killing police officers with grenades in a ruthless ambush. This is the tale of a gangster who lived for the thrill of the fight, a man whose loyalty to the game meant death to anyone in his way. This is the brutal saga of Cregan laid bare. A man who traded everything for power and now rots in a psychiatric cage. His legacy, a smoking ruin of Britain's gangland chaos. Dale Cregan was born on June 6, 1983, at Tameside General Hospital in Greater Manchester, England. His father, a tool setter, left the family when Cregan was young, eventually marrying a former Greater Manchester police officer, which may have influenced his later actions. Cregan grew up with an older brother and a younger sister. He attended Little Moss High School in Droylsden, where he began dealing drugs, starting with cannabis, and was said to have developed a fascination with knives. The story begins in the rough corners of East Manchester, where two families, the Shorts and the Atkinsons, were about to ignite a feud that would burn through the streets and leave a trail of bodies. These weren't mafia kingpins, just small-time crooks from Droylsden and beyond, known to locals for petty crime and big egos. Certain members of the Shorts and Atkinsons operated in their own patches, not really in the big leagues to begin with. They were known to police, with small-scale tit-for-tat clashes that dotted over the years. But they weren't top of the priority list. That was about to change. It all kicked off back in 2001, when Leon Atkinson, a 35-year-old bruiser from Ashton-under-Lyne, smashed his fist into David Short's face. David, a 46-year-old hard man, had dared to look at him the wrong way. That single punch lit the fuse. Tensions simmered, erupting again in September 2003 when Francis Atkinson, Leon's father, took a bullet to the leg in a Droylsden pub. His left kneecap shattered. Meanwhile, David Short was growing wary of a rising menace. Dale Cregan. Cregan's name came up again when David was run off his bike and had his throat slashed in another brutal attack, though no one could pin it on him for sure. Fights kept flaring up. Leon scrapped with David's nephews, his brothers tangled with the Shorts' cousins, but by 2008, they tried to bury the hatchet. Leon and David met in Manchester's Arndale Centre and shook hands, calling an uneasy truce. It held for a while, but in these streets, peace was just a pause. The Shorts and Atkinsons were locked in a cycle of pride and payback, and soon, a petty pub row would drag Dale Cregan, Leon's close mate, into the clash, turning a family grudge into a deadly reckoning. In May 2012, the simmering truce between the Shorts and Atkinsons went up in flames over something so trivial, it's almost laughable, if it weren't so deadly. Picture the Cotton Tree pub in Droylsden, a rough East Manchester haunt where locals knew the players. Teresa Atkinson, the tough matriarch of the Atkinson clan, was there, half drunk and celebrating. She grabbed a bottle of WKD, that cheap blue Alcopop, and chucked it at Raymond Young, a close mate of the Short family. It wasn't a big deal to most, just a sloppy, boozy jab. But Young didn't see it that way. Witnesses say he spun around and slapped Teresa across the face with the back of his hand. A petty row, the kind you'd chalk up to too much drink and bad tempers. But Teresa wasn't letting it slide. She stormed out of the pub, spitting fury, and told anyone who'd listen, "I'm going to try and get you done by my sons." The jury at Preston Crown Court later heard that phone records backed her up. She called her son Leon and another son that night, then spoke to Leon again the next morning. Leon, still smarting from years of bad blood with the Shorts, rang his friend Dale Cregan. That slap wasn't just an insult to Teresa, it was a match tossed onto a pile of dry grudges. The prosecution would argue this was the spark, the booze-fueled moment that set off a 4-month terror spree. 4 people would die because of it, and 10 men would end up in the dock. In East Manchester, a thrown bottle wasn't just a bar fight, it was the beginning of the end. It's May 25th, 2012, and we're back at the Cotton Tree pub in Droylsden. It's Friday night, and the usual crowd are in, the noise of glasses clinking and laughter cutting through the stale air of spilled beer. 12 days earlier, Teresa Atkinson's WKD bottle had smashed the fragile piece. And now her words echo in her son Leon's head. "I'm going to get you done by my sons." Leon, tangled in family loyalty and a decade of bad blood, was accused of vowing revenge on the Short family. The prosecution claimed he'd called his mate Cregan to settle the score. Tonight, the plan's in motion. Leon always denied that he gave the order, and he was later acquitted on all charges. Inside the pub, Mark Short, 23, leans over the pool table, cue in hand. He's a well-built amateur boxer, running an extortion racket in Droylsden's pubs, alongside his dad, David. Mark's pals, John Collins, Ryan Pridding, and Michael Belcher, lounge nearby, sipping pints, oblivious to the storm that's rolling in. Outside, a car pulls up. 3 men step out: Cregan, Luke Livesey, 27, from Hattersley, and Damien Gorman, 38, from Glossop, nicknamed Scarface. Cregan's got a Glock tucked under his jacket, his face hidden by a balaclava. This isn't random, it's personal. The pub door swings open. A hush falls as Cregan strides in, boots heavy on the sticky floor. Mark looks up, mid-shot, pool cue frozen. "What the?" he starts, but the words die as Cregan raises the gun. A single shot rips through the air, slamming into Mark's chest. He staggers, blood blooming on his shirt, and collapses onto the green felt. Chaos erupts, screams, chairs scraping, but Cregan's not done. He swings the barrel, firing at Collins, Pridding, and Belcher. Bullets tear into legs and backs. The 3 hit the ground, groaning, alive but wounded. The prosecution later says it's unclear if Mark was the real target, or if they wanted David too. Lucky for David, he's in the toilet and misses the gunfire. Cregan bolts for the car, with Livesey and Gorman on his heels, disappearing into the night. Back inside, David stumbles out of the toilet, the flush still echoing, and freezes. His sons sprawled across the table, eyes wide, breath gone. David drops to his knees, cradling Mark as he dies in his arms. The cotton tree's a crime scene now, pool balls scattered all over. David tells police later it's the Atkinsons, tying it back to that WKD bottle row with Raymond Young. For Cregan, it's mission accomplished. Mark Short's dead, the first domino's fallen. But this isn't the end. It's just the start of a war that'll burn right through East Manchester. Days pass, and Mark's funeral comes and goes, a somber affair for the Short family. After that, David's a man possessed. Every single day he goes to Droylsden Cemetery, kneeling by his son's grave, grieving and plotting. But Cregan's watching, though. The one-eyed dealer's already got his mate Anthony Wilkinson on board, planning to finish what he started. They'd botched it at the Cotton Tree. David wasn't even in the room, but they won't miss again. Meanwhile, Greater Manchester Police aren't sitting still. In June 2012, they nab Cregan, hauling him in for questioning over Mark's murder. He's got the Glock stashed somewhere, but the evidence is thin. Chief Constable Peter Fahey later defends the call. "It's normal in complex cases. Sometimes you don't have enough to charge right away," he said. So, they cut him loose on bail, and Cregan slips back out there, free to roam while they scramble for the proof. David's statement's on file, the Atkinsons are in their sights, and Cregan's rage is boiling hotter now. David's not just a target, he's a snitch who dared to grass on them. David keeps visiting that grave, a sitting duck in Cregan's crosshairs. The police are hunting, the feud's boiling over, and Cregan's hired a van, duvets, and pillows for his next move. The clock's ticking, and David Short's luck is about to run dry. August 10th, 2012, it's quiet in East Manchester. But under the surface, vengeance is brewing. Dale Cregan's got a score to settle. David Short has been a thorn in his side, informing on him to the cops about Mark's murder and pushing him to the edge with threats of revenge. Cregan's been watching Short's every move since the cotton tree hit. Those daily trips to Mark's grave in Droylsden Cemetery have been like clockwork. Today's the day Cregan's picked to end it. He's enlisted Anthony Wilkinson, a loyal mate, and they're parked outside the cemetery in a hired van. Duvets and pillows stuffed inside, ready for a long wait. But David doesn't show up. The hours begin to drag. Cregan's patience wears thin. They figure he's not coming and decide to hunt him down. They roll up to David's house on Folkestone Road East in Clayton, the van creaking to a stop. It's late afternoon now, and the sun is dipping low. David's clueless, stepping out to grab something from his car, maybe a tool, or maybe a smoke. Suddenly, he hears boots on the pavement. Cregan and Wilkinson burst out, guns blazing. At least 9 bullets tear through the air. Glock rounds, precise and vicious. David bolts for it, adrenaline pumping, crashing through his own front door, furniture toppling everywhere as he stumbles. Cregan's right behind, relentless, firing again. 3 shots slam into David's head, point blank. He crumples outside, blood pooling on the concrete. Wilkinson's there too, covering the exit, but Cregan's not done. He pulls a hand grenade, M75, military grade, yanks the pin, and tosses it onto David's body. Jermaine Ward screeches up in a getaway car, tires smoking as they peel out. The Shorts are down, Mark's gone, David's obliterated. But Cregan's not running blind. He's got a safe house lined up, and the cops are just starting to piece together the carnage that he's left behind. It's still August 10th, 2012, and the carnage isn't over. Minutes after Dale Cregan blasted David Short's body in Clayton, the air still reeks of grenade smoke. It's just past the late afternoon, and Cregan's not done yet. With Anthony Wilkinson and Jermaine Ward in tow, he's got a third man on the move, Muhammad Imran Ali from Chadderton. 10 minutes after David's body hits the ground, they're in Droylsden, pulling up to Luke Road. They have another target in sight, Sharon Hark's house. No one's sure why. Sharon later tells police she doesn't even know Cregan or the Shorts. She can't think of a reason her place would be hit. Cregan's got another M75 grenade, his grim calling card. He yanks the pin and lobs it at the house. The blast rattles windows, but no one's hurt. Sharon's son was due home that morning, fresh out of jail from a fight brought by his girlfriend, but luck keeps them all safe. The grenade's real purpose was unknown, an old vendetta maybe. Cregan admits the attack in court, but swears he wasn't trying to kill anyone inside. Ward's behind the wheel, driving them away from the scene, and they've got one more trick, a third grenade. They chuck it at their hired van, the one kitted with duvets and pillows from the Clayton stakeout, and blow it to bits, covering their tracks. CCTV catches the whole thing, the trio at Luke Road, the flash, the getaway. Greater Manchester police spot Cregan and Wilkinson on the tape, his one-eyed glare unmistakable. They slap a £50,000 reward on their heads, desperate to reel them in. Muhammad Imran Ali steps up next, driving the crew to a safe house in West Yorkshire, out of reach for now. The cops are scrambling, the streets are buzzing, and Cregan's crew are already plotting what's next. Cregan's not lying low like you'd think. After Ali drives the three of them to a safe house in West Yorkshire, he's bouncing around. Ward's the first to crack. He claims Cregan kept him as a slave in an apartment for nearly 2 weeks, gun rammed to his head, threatening his mum and brother if he bolted. On August 23rd, Ward walks into a Huddersfield police station, with his hands up, spinning a tale of duress. The jury won't buy it later, but for now, he's out of the game. Wilkinson's next. On September 2nd, cops nab him in a park in Openshaw, East Manchester, after what Chief Constable Peter Fahey calls an unprecedented operation. Cregan's still a ghost. He'd been nabbed back in June for Mark's murder, bailed out, and now he's laughing at the manhunt. He's living large, an associate told the Guardian newspaper. He's popping up all over East Manchester, crashing at mates' places. They shield him, swallowing his line that David Short threatened his toddler with the works. Cregan's lapping it up, beer, cocaine, high-end hotels, flaunting that £50,000 price tag like a badge. By September 17th, he's at 30 Abbey Gardens, a cul-de-sac on the Hattersley estate. Alan Whitwell, a guy who once cut his hair, opens the door to Cregan barging in, Glock and grenade in hand. "Crew cut, now," he demands, sending Alan out for beer and cigars. Whitwell's terrified. "No way I'm snitching with that firepower," he tells the court later. The reward didn't even cross his mind. Cregan crashes there, plotting his next move. The cops are closing in, but he's not done yet. He's got one last play, and it's going to shake Manchester to its core. September 18th, 2012, breaks grey over Hattersley Estate. And Dale Cregan's ready to burn it all down. He's been crashing at 30 Abbey Gardens, a dead-end street in Mottram, since barging in on Alan Whitwell the night before. He's pacing around, Glock loaded, with a grenade in his pocket. He's been on the run since August, David Short's murder and the Luke Road grenade attack. He's got a £50,000 bounty on his head, but now he's cornered and he's fuming. He accuses the police of harassing his family. So at 10:16 a.m., he grabs the phone and dials 999. He reports a fake burglary at 30 Abbey Gardens and hangs up the phone with a smirk on his face. It's a trap. At Hyde Police Station, PC's Fiona Bone and Nicola Hughes gear up for a routine call. Fiona's calm, a seasoned officer. Nicola's younger, but still eager. They're both unarmed, carrying only tasers and vests. They roll out, pulling up to the cul-de-sac, their boots crunching gravel as they cross the small front garden. The door creaks open, then Cregan steps out, Glock raised. Shots ring out and slam into their chests. Their body armor catches the initial barrage, but they're stunned. "Get back!" Fiona screams as they make a panicked tactical retreat. The panic button on the police radio is pressed and a Code 0 alert is sent out. Every available unit in the area is now racing to the scene, unaware of how serious the incident actually is. But Cregan's still on them. He's relentless. He fires again. 32 bullets in 31 seconds, a storm of lead. Nicola's hit in the back, legs buckling as she falls face down, paralyzed. He pumps 3 more into her head. Fiona's trapped by the living room window and tries unloading her taser, but she misses. Cregan unloads 24 shots into her, 1 piercing her heart. But he's still not finished. The M75 grenade, his calling card, comes out again. Pin pulled, he hurls it at their bodies on the path. Shrapnel flies, mixing with dirt, and even after all that, Nicola still clings to life. She's rushed to hospital, but passes soon after. Cregan bolts to his car, tires squealing as he speeds to Hyde police station. He strides into the station with his hands up. "I've dropped the gun at the scene," he says coolly. "I've murdered 2 police officers. You were hounding my family, so I took it out on yous." Cregan's done talking. He's turned himself in, and Manchester's reeling from the worst cop killing in a generation. The cuffs snap on, and the machine kicks into gear. By September 21st, he's in front of magistrates, remanded in custody, no bail this time. 3 days later, on the 24th, he's on a video link from Strangeways prison to Manchester Crown Court. February 4th, 2013, and Preston Crown Court's a fortress. Dale Cregan's trial kicks off, and it's a circus. 150 armed cops swarm the streets, snipers perch on rooftops, and a helicopter buzzes overhead. 2 prison vans, flanked by 3 police cars, carve up the M61 from Strangeways, hauling Cregan and 9 others to face justice. This all cost over £5 million, one of the priciest trials to ever take place in Britain. Inside, airport-style security is used to screen everyone, lawyers, jurors, even the 20 barristers packed in 2 rows. Cregan is charged with 4 murders: Mark Short, David Short, PC's Fiona Bone and Nicola Hughes, plus 4 attempted murders and an explosion. 9 others face a mix of murder, attempted murder, and assisting charges. All plead not guilty at first, and Mr. Justice Holroyd QC calls the shots. The jury gets picked. 40 potentials are crammed in and grilled with questionnaires to weed out ties to the case. It's set to run 10 weeks, but actually drags out to 19. On February 12th, he flips and pleads guilty to killing the cops. The gallery gasps. He had denied it back in November at Liverpool Crown Court via video link. On May 22nd, he pleads guilty to Mark and David's murders. 3 attempted hits at the Cotton Tree and the Luke Road grenade attack, but he holds out on 1 count, trying to kill Sharon Hark. On June 13th, 2013, Cregan's cleared of the Hark charge. The jury buys his no intent line, but he's done. Holroyd hands him a whole life sentence, one of just 49 in England and Wales. Wilkinson gets life, a 35-year minimum for David's murder. Jermaine Ward, same deal for driving the getaway. Luke Livesey and Damien Gorman cop guilty verdicts for Mark's murder and the Cotton Tree attempts. Mohammed Imran Ali gets 7 years for aiding the Yorkshire hideout. Leon Atkinson, Ryan Hadfield, Matthew James and Francis Dixon walk free on the killings of Mark and David. Dale Cregan's rampage ended, but the scars still linger. 4 dead, Mark and David Short, PC's Fiona Bone and Nicola Hughes, and a community torn apart. On September 19, 2012, Greater Manchester Police held a silence at 11 a.m, with the Union flag at half-mast. Chief Constable Peter Fahey calls it the worst event in GMP history. The funerals hit Manchester Cathedral on October 3rd and 4th. Hughes was broadcast on screens, but Bones was audio only at her family's request. Thousands stand still. Cops nationwide mourn, and a memorial rises in Mottram Parish Church. The grenade murders, first in UK history, sparked a fleeting gun debate for cops. In December 2024, Bone and Hughes get the Elizabeth Emblem, a posthumous honour for their sacrifice. East Manchester's underworld erupted in shootouts post-trial, with Cregan's shadow looming. GMP slam him as a scourge, no folk hero, just a thug who'll rot in Ashworth. While two young women's laughter fades into silence. For more raw and real crime stories, hit the like button and subscribe. Until the next episode, stay alert and stay safe.